Magnolia blossoms are so beautiful, so exquisite. This is Magnolia liliflora from the family Magnoliaceae and clade magnolids. The magnolids, they are characterized by monosulcate pollen grains. The grains have one fissure where there's a one pore from where it comes out the pollen tube. So monoaperturate pollen grain is the characteristics of magnolid clade of angiosperms, and these are considered as the primitive flowering plants, where the arrangement of floral pods is on a spiral receptacle. There is least distinction into sepals and petals, rather they look alike, and they are fondly named as tepals. So the rather than calyx and corolla, in Magnolia we have the perianth. So the outer whorl corresponds to sepals or calyx, whereas the inner whorl corresponds to the so-called petals or corolla, but instead they are in looking alike, or even you can say the sepals are petaloid, and we have the unique insertion of the floral parts. There are many stamens inside, all are free, and they are arranged spirally on an elongated receptacle. There are many carpels, and carpels are also free. So this is the Magnolia liliflora. So many flowering bushes are small trees. They are adding grandeur to the Sharma Botanical Garden, the garden which was established by the first director, Plants of Parks and Gardens, K.N. Kaul, Kailashinath Kaul. He designed the Sharma Botanical Garden just in the vicinity of Sharma Spring and Rupa Bhavani temple. We have many magnolia species in Kashmir. We have star magnolia, which bears white blossoms, and number of tepals or perianth lobes is more than 8. Mostly it may be 8, 10, 12, but the flowers of Magnolia stellata or star magnolia or Tara Champa, they are early blooming, and this time we have already lost that flowering phase, and now star magnolia or the Magnolia stellata, that is seen only at the foliage stage. So this is star magnolia. Flowers have gone only on one twig or two twigs. We are able to locate the white petals. For example, here only one petal is still remaining on the twig. Otherwise, the all petals, they are scattered on the ground. So it means its flowering is over. And this is Magnolia stellata, star magnolia. So only foliage at this time. Its beauty of flowers is over. But in succession, after star magnolia, we have the beautiful purplish pink blossoming of Magnolia liliflora. So at this juncture, we are seeing the flowers only on Magnolia liliflora everywhere, and leaves have just started appearing. So after a 10 days or a week's time, even these petals, so-called tepals or perianth lobes, they will also fall, and it will be clothed with foliage. So in succession, early bloomer Magnolia is Magnolia stellata, followed by grand pink purplish Magnolia, Magnolia liliflora, and then ultimately in summer, early summer, somewhere in after mid-May or June, we will come across the blooming of another evergreen magnolia, that is Magnolia grandiflora, a him champa. So Magnolia stellata, that is Tara champa, which we have just focused, having only leaves at this time, it is also deciduous plant. And similarly, even Magnolia liliflora is also deciduous, means they shed leaves. New leaves have come on Magnolia stellata, but new leaves are just appearing in Magnolia liliflora, whereas in case of Magnolia grandiflora, the third species, which is yet to bloom, that is evergreen. But all these magnolids or magnolia trees, they are considered primitive, and even it is scientifically argued that honeybees appeared much later. So first magnolia trees appeared and then honeybees. That is another feature which reflects the antiquity of magnolia trees. And mostly their tepals or perianthal lobes, they are leathery and usually even eaten by the beetles. Sometimes pollination is also carried out by the beetles other than honeybees. So these flowers of magnolia, they have the primitive architecture, no distinction to sepals and petals, and then they are arranged in the bulbs are multiple of 3. So flowers are trimerous. In typical eudicots, rosids or asterids, we see the floral architecture is usually pentamerous. Flowers have the floral bulbs in a multiple of 5. They may be 5, they may be 10 or 15. But in case of magnolids or magnolia species, the flowers are in multiple of 3. They may be 3, 6 or 9. And then pollen grains in case of eudicots, that is asterids, or you can say the lamids or core dicots, they mostly the pollen grains are tricolpate. They have the 3 apertures. So that is another character which distinguishes the magnolids from the eudicots. So these primitive trees having the early spring flowering, or you can say early summer flowering in case of Magnolia grandiflora, they attract the tourists and nature lovers to the Mughal gardens of Kashmir. And these magnolias decorate our Mughal gardens, including the Harvan, then Shalimar Mughal garden, then Nishat garden, and even Achabal garden or Kokarnak garden or Chashma Shahi botanical garden, which was established by Kailashnath Kaul, a renowned botanist who worked on drug development. Especially he focused on the santonin obtained from the Artemisia species. So many Artemisia species, but especially the Artemisia maritima, it had the santonin content, and credit for laying out the design of these flowering bushes, trees and other plants, including the Japanese quince or the Malay quince, which is Canomelis japonica, which is also adding color to the Mughal gardens. That was brought from China, and it was during the tenure of Kailashnath Kaul, who was the first director of parks and gardens in the government of Jammu and Kashmir.